So I own a horse business. I raise horses, train horses, and teach people how to ride. And I'm very, very lucky to have my own barn to work out of that's owned by me and my mom. And this barn has the original barn was built in 2005, and I believe it is a 60 by 80 building. And then there's a new arena attached. But if I were to completely redo this whole thing and start from scratch, here's a few things that I would and would not do. One thing that I definitely would do is put this vet stock in again. I can't take credit for this thing. My mom wanted this when she built this barn in 2005, and I was 6 years old. She put this in, but it is so handy. And so when we have like vets come, or because we have the vet come here at least once a year, he can ultrasound my mares, he can float their teeth. We also, most of the year, we use it to wash horses. And it just like restrains the horse, keeps the kids safe. It is so handy. We use it for so many things. One thing that I would not do is create only one tack room. So our barn has a tack room, an office, a bathroom, and a feed room for the insulated individual rooms. This is the tack room. Maybe doesn't want to flip. There we go. So this is the tack room door. This whole area is the tack room on the inside. The boarders, the full-time show clients, me personally, we all use the same tack room. I would definitely create a client tack room and a personal tack room not because like I don't trust my clients, but just because it gets so chaotic in there. There's so much stuff gets moved around, and like I'm not the most organized, so when I go in there, I'm just grabbing stuff. So I tell my boarders, like, if you leave your halters, like not with your stuff personally, but if you just hang them in a random spot, I'm probably going to grab them at some point and use them. So I would definitely have 2 separate tack rooms or tack lockers, which we've actually looked into maybe getting. But yeah, somewhere to separate your personal stuff from your client's stuff. Super handy. Another thing I would not do is put this condensation guard on the ceiling. At the time this barn was built, this was kind of like the standard that they were putting on the ceilings, and it lasted about 10 years, and then it started falling down. It looks like trash, and it needs to all just be torn down. This barn is also so tall that we didn't really need it. We keep the doors open most of the time, and we don't get a lot of condensation. So I probably wouldn't do that again. One thing that I definitely would do is put up the, it's not ridge light, I can't think of what it's called, but this light panel along the top. And I also have this in my new barn, along the open wall. This panel lets in a ton of natural light, and so during the day, we really don't even have to turn the lights on. One thing that I would not do is put windows in the horse stalls. It's nice in concept, like in theory, but really it's just another thing for them to break. You can see my stud has his window boarded up because he tries to put his nose through it, and we always thought we were going to put like bars and stuff, like have bars custom made and put them in front of the windows. It just never happened, so I probably wouldn't put windows in again if I were going to redo it. One thing I would do is put the leans on the outside of the barn. This is the front barn, and it has a lean. This side's enclosed. On the other side of the barn, it's not enclosed. But this is a really good spot, like to store. I can get like 200 bales of hay in here, which is like a month and a half worth of hay. So I can bring it up from the barn I store most of my hay in and put it up here. And it's just really handy. It's technically not in the barn. So yeah, and the leans are just super handy. Like we store all kinds of things under the leans. We can even set up temporary stalls. If we need to quarantine a horse, then they're under the shelter, but they're outside away from the other horses. Leans, super handy. In my new barn, the lean is completely enclosed because eventually there's going to be more stalls in there. But I really like the way the leans are set up on this barn. One thing I would not do again is start putting in these, they're not temporary stalls, but they're like the stalls you can buy at like a farm store. They're pre-made, I guess, and you just put the wood in. They do not really hold up. Like, okay, I shouldn't say that. These stalls have been here a long time, but they do bend. Like, you can see this wall is bent, and we had to do a bunch of stuff, like add wood and all kinds of brackets and stuff to make them stable. If I was gonna do this again, the reason we did it was because we added them a few at a time to make it a little more cost effective. But if I was gonna do it again, I would just save up some money and use like panel stalls until I had the money to pay somebody to come in and build custom stalls, because these stalls are a pain in the ass. And someday we will go through and replace all these stalls with custom stalls, but that's expensive. So they work for now, but if you have horses that like to destroy things or fight, I wouldn't recommend them. I also would not recommend, if you're gonna have a line of stalls, like there's 5 stalls in this line, having stalls with bars in between the horses. Like, it is better for airflow, but the horses fight like crazy. If you're gonna have young horses especially, they will fight through those bars, which is how the walls got destroyed in the first place. And the last thing I'm gonna mention in this video, I feel like I could do this all day, like critiquing what I would and wouldn't do, but the last thing that I did do that I would definitely do again was when I built my new barn, I had it attached, and they didn't really want to do that, partially because this barn was so old, and the company that built it's no longer in business. So they weren't sure like what the snow load and all that type of thing was on it. And so they really didn't want to attach it. So I had to kind of jump through some hoops and have like a breezeway attachment, but I really wanted it to be all one building. And it is so much handier that way. It's so much warmer. And this still does have a door in this doorway, so you can close off the stall barn completely if you want to. But yeah, I would definitely attach them again. I would not want them to have to, I would not want to have to go outside to get to my arena. I know a lot of people that have it set up that way. Not for me. I know it is a little bit safer in some ways, but I like my barn attached, so I would do it again.